I was doing my last video. I I dragged the shit out of this content creator who was calling black men sex traffickers or whatnot. And I like to go in depth, on some of my stuff. I don't just do raw commentaries. I do those very rarely where it's just me talking. I like to give my subscribers something to look at, instead of just hearing a voice coming out of there. I don't want to be cheap that way. I don't want to cheap out on them and shit. So, I do what I can, and I indulge my creativity. And I was dragging this content creator, right? And I went and looked at her. I found she had a YouTube page, and I went and looked at it, and I saw this story on there, and I remembered this story. I remembered that this girl had passed away, and I remember she was murdered, and it was really fucked up. And she was from the South Side of Chicago. At least I assume as much. Uh, she lost her life through a lot of fuckery and shit. And I took umbrage after finding this story on the content creator's page that I was dragging. I took umbrage at it because it was like fake ass, bullshit, like fake concern. Like I don't think she gave a shit. I don't think she even followed up to see what happened to, people involved in this young girl's death. This was a girl. She was 16, right, and she was selling her body on the streets. Well, she was about to be. I don't know. She had turned a few tricks. Okay, I'm not gonna mince words. I'm not gonna say nice words and shit. She had turned a few tricks. I'm gonna get in depth on it after the jump. But I just wanted to say, I want to debunk propaganda and shit. Okay, and in this story there are evil black men. Okay, real evil black men, not regular black men. A lot of these women, they want to just put us all in the same box of shit, like herd us together and shit, and it's just not working like that, okay? It's just not working. If we want to be herded together, we can just let the minority majority shove us in the industrial prison complex and shit. That's where we really herded together. And I just take umbrage that one half of our ethnic community uh, does these nonstop attacks on us, nonstop. These spiritual attacks, this rhetoric, and this propaganda. And I'm going to bust the balls of this shit, okay? That's why this fucking page exists and the other ones that I have as well. Anyway, more after the jump.
Who killed a 16-year-old Chicago girl? And how did Desiree Robinson's body end up in the south suburbs?
Thursday, this past Thursday.
Any idea where she might have been?
No.
Was she with, you don't know if she was with friends or?
No.
2 days later, the teenager's body was found here in a garage in south suburban Markham. She had been beaten.
She loved everybody. She was always smiling and happy.
Even to the perpetrator, let me say this. What you did to my granddaughter, I would not wish that to happen to you.
A man pleaded guilty today to sex trafficking charges in connection with the murder of 16-year-old Desiree Robinson last December. The case sparked protests against websites that include prostitution ads. Larry Yellen has the story.
It is beyond shocking and heartbreaking to hear that this child was bought for $250.
Antonio Romanucci represents the family of Desiree Robinson. The 16-year-old girl was found murdered in a Markham garage on Christmas Eve 2016. Police say she was killed by Antonio Rosales. They say he met her through an online sex ad on Backpage.com. Today, another man, Charles McPhee, broke down and cried in court as he admitted that for a promised $250, he sent the teenager to the alleged pimp, Joseph Hasley, who allegedly had put her up for sale online.
This is one of the worst things that you could imagine happening in your life, and he's got to live with that his whole life, and he's not going to live with it easily, and that's why he broke down crying in the courtroom.
Robinson's mother watched the guilty plea but declined comment afterwards. She is suing Backpage.com for its alleged role in her daughter's death. McPhee is cooperating with prosecutors and is expected to testify against Hasley. Under his plea deal, he's expected to receive a sentence of 6 to 8 years.
He had a normal life, and he's an intelligent, good guy, and just somehow got involved in something that got out of hand.
Joseph Hasley has been held without bond since he was arrested last June. Tomorrow morning, he'll be back in court asking for his release as he awaits trial.
Hasley was sentenced today to 32 years for sex trafficking. Hasley drove Desiree Robinson to the Markham house in question. The teenager was found murdered in the garage. The case sparked outrage over the website Desiree and Hasley used to find her clients, the now defunct Backpage.com, where people could freely connect with teens who worked in the sex industry.
Desiree did not deserve this, but everyone will finally be held accountable for their actions in my daughter's death.
We can't forget that if it wasn't for Backpage.com, Desiree would still be here with her mom, and people like Hasley would never be able to have had the chance to exploit children online.
And Desiree's family is still going after Backpage.com in a civil suit for allowing sex trafficking on their platform. The site was taken down, but since then, a handful of knockoff sites have taken its place.
I want to speak at her mom and her grandfather. And before I do that, I want to say that once again, we see tragedies like this happening and we don't see a fucking father. We don't see a father nowhere. I don't know if the guy passed away or he's unavailable, if he even knows that he has a daughter, a 16-year-old daughter. I don't know. We don't know shit about the fathers. We never know nothing about the fathers. They don't try to find the fathers. They don't make no commentary. And when they do see a dad, they ignore him for the most part, okay? Because they need that visual. You know, the minority majority, they need that visual of the crying black, well, you know, I wouldn't say mammy, okay? All right? And this woman is suspect and shit. The mother is suspect in her parenting skills or whatnot because this happened. All right? I'm not going to mince words and shit. The family was suing Backpage and shit. They probably got a couple of million. She ended up, you know, being present when Donald Trump signed some kind of bill into law regarding trafficking or whatever. He signed some bill. She has a foundation. The daughter has a foundation. So the mother, by proxy, used her daughter as a come up and shit, okay? Whether she intended to or not. But her own suspect parenting should have been called into question and shit. How could a 16-year-old girl, you know, I know it's laughable, right, in 2022. How could she get around and be in these situations with these men of ill repute and shit without her mother, you know, not paying attention, not being a neglectful parent? Don't tell me that she's too busy to know that her daughter's doing some shady crap, okay? We already know in a lot of these single-parent households where the mother leads, the daughter takes precedence over the male child. I see now she had a male child there, you know, a son husband probably. We don't see no fucking father. We don't know shit about no fucking father, but we see the grandfather. I have to assume that that's the mother's father and shit. And he's doing his finger wagging and shit. And I'm like, well, why didn't your granddaughter feel comfortable coming to you and telling you that she has problems on the streets there, that men are chasing her, that men are trying to capture her and pirate her ass off and sex traffic her? When these niggas start showing up, when this shady ass motherfucker, you know, the dude you see in the picture and shit, when he shows up, the guy wagging the money, that's the money that he was paid as a finder's fee for delivering a girl to a pimp. Okay? Look at that fucking guy. Look at that fucking shady ass guy. Look at him. If I seen that guy anywhere around any of my relatives, it'd be a wrap. Okay? The only thing that stops men in the community from, you know, distilling justice the way they're supposed to, you know, of providing cover and protection, is the goddamn women. It's the goddamn women. They're the ones that keep these secrets. Okay, they keep these behind the door secrets, you know, between mom, daughter, and grandma, and who are auntie and shit, and sister. They do this. Okay, they do this to their community. I'm not gonna fucking waste words here, okay? I'm not gonna dance around. I'm not gonna be fucking nice. They do this shit. They know these girls have these fucking problems with whoever the fuck is doing this shit. And they don't tell the men in their family. They don't go to the police and report this shit. They don't keep their daughters home until they can resolve the shit and homeschool it because they got to work and shit. You know, they're mad about that. They done opened their legs, had a fucking ill-advised baby, got a divorce, and they're having an antagonistic relationship with the father, the birth father, you know, the baby daddy, you know, for any of the mentally challenged people listening to me. Where's the fucking father? We don't know. Maybe he could have saved this girl from herself, by the way. And he got the grandfather wagging his finger and talking about, you know, oh, I wouldn't. He has nothing to say. He's impotent. That's what we see. This is the cost of modern, you know, black female feminism and shit. You know, you got like when you do have a guy there, he's a fucking figurehead. This grandfather is a figurehead. They put a nice suit on him and shit, but really he's just impotent. He has no power. He has no power. He's not teaching anything to his children, his grandchildren and shit, and his daughter. He's not teaching them shit. None of that shouldn't have been going on. All right? When I was a kid growing up and somebody called the house, I couldn't even talk to them while my parent standing there with the other phone up to her ear in front of me. It was irritating. It was annoying as shit, but I know what my parent was trying to do. All right? Know what my parents were trying to do. And ain't no fucking way that you living in a house with a 16-year-old girl who's going out, you know, meeting shady dudes, and she done sold her body. We don't know. They don't never say how many times she sold her body. But before she was murdered, she had already slept with her murderer, her eventual murderer. She had slept with him the day before. She had been trafficked to him the day before. And he slept with her, and he enjoyed himself, and he wanted her to come back. He wanted some more of her. And when she arrived, he didn't have the money, and that's what started the downward spiral that led to her murder. Her really unfortunate murder, that she was robbed from the world and shit. And this girl was in trouble. She shouldn't have been in her own home. You know, child protective services. She should have been at least in the foster care system. And I know that shit has its problems, but the mother was incapable of raising her daughter properly. How does your daughter end up in prostitution? Does anybody, I wonder if Donald Trump asked her that before he signed that bill. If I was Donald Trump and shit, and, you know, I was going to sign this bill, I would say, hey, get out of here with these reporters. Hey, I want to talk to you real quick before I put my pen to paper here. How did this happen? How did this happen? Tell me how this, sit down there here in the Oval Office, since I suffer you. I need a photo op and shit to get my numbers up, my you know, approval rating up. So you sit your ass down and you tell me how the fuck your daughter ended up on the street being trafficked. You know, what happened here? Where's his father? Do you want me some help from the federal office to find the daddy of your child? I want to know. You know, then sign it. You know, embarrass her fucking ass. Make her explain that shit to you before you sign it if I was Donald Trump. I'd have been like, man, I want to know what the fuck's going on. This girl should not have been, she died. Her body was found on Christmas Eve of 2016 in a garage in a garbage can and shit. She had been beaten and strangled and had her throat cut and shit. And she had no clothes on. She was naked. So, you know, this sick fuck probably, you know, helped himself and shit, if you get my drift. All right? And I want to tell you, okay? You know, I feel bad for this girl. She should still be here today and going through intense therapy and having some real parental figures to help guide her through life to save what could have been. All right? This is Keisha culture. Is, you know, a content creator coined that phrase. His name is the name of his channel is Accountable Commentary. It's a male-only space. Don't go there if you're not a male. He won't allow you onto his platform. But I have to give credit where credit's due. And this girl was failed by her parents. She was failed by her grandfather and her mother and shit. Because I'm blaming them because those are the ones that I see. She was failed by her friends. Okay? She was failed by her fucking friends. She had a friend who talked to her before she was murdered. All right? And he said he tried to find out where she was. And that's just not good enough for me. That's not a good enough answer. He should have gone to the police station and reported her missing. But he probably, I don't want to get her in trouble. And he ain't no fucking friend. And she wasn't parented properly and shit. Well, she wouldn't have been in this situation. Okay? If that was my friend and she called and told me that shit, that she was, somewhere she couldn't get out of and shit, I would go to the police. I would call the cops up. That's what I do. And then you report that shit to the cops. You can give the cops her phone number, okay? And they can find out where she is. They can find out where she is. They will go look for her, okay? And if they didn't, the mother could sue the Chicago PD, okay? I would do that if I was the friend. And I want her to be in the upper room and shit prematurely. She was 16. All right, she was a very beautiful girl. Okay, she was a light-skinned girl. That has a lot of the street value over here in the slave quarters of the south side of Chicago and shit. They love them some mulattoes and shit. She was petite. She had curves and all this bullshit. And even her trafficker was complaining the day before she was murdered about how much money he had paid for her hair and nails and clothing and shit. So he was already pissed and shit. And he didn't give a fuck. She was disposable to him. He had other girls on his laptop when he was caught. Okay? And I know the feds got that shit. They got the information. He scrubbed his laptop, and after she was dead, he surmised that she was dead. Him and the slimy son of a bitch that sold him to her, they put her clothing in a garbage bag, and they took it across the street because they're idiots. They took the shit across the street and put it in the garbage can. All right? So, when they report this shit, they just do it like, bare bones and shit. But, if you have discernment and common sense, you can see what's going on. The slimy looking fucking guy that sold her to the pimp, they're probably two related fuckers. They're living in the house together. He has other women on his shit. And he was complaining about how much it costs her upkeep costs as a 16-year-old girl that he had pimped out a couple of times. Okay? And she had clothing there. So she had to be staying there at some point. And where's the fucking mother? Does anybody ask where the fucking mother's in the middle of this shit? Like, how come she don't know where her daughter is at all times? That she has a cell phone, that bitch could look on the Google and shit and find out where her daughter is? It's real simple. Okay, if you give a fuck about your children, you don't let them out of your sight. You keep an eye on them, especially a girl, a coming-of-age girl and shit, already on the cusp of womanhood and shit. A beautiful girl. She's out here on the streets and shit. She's meeting shady dudes. Like, these dudes look evil. They look so fucked up, you almost think it's like fucking special effects. These niggas look demonic as fuck. Like, both of them. Both of these niggas. And I think I feel like, it makes me so angry. I feel like niggas like this should be lynched. Should be lynched by black people. It's fucked up. Let's tell a grandfather he need to take his ass somewhere and sit the fuck down. Sit your ass down. And tell the mother, shame on your mother. Shame on you, Mrs. Robinson or Miss Robinson. I don't think he was married. Shame on you. Okay? I know you probably was a little loose yourself. Okay? And your single parent household failed. And I don't know who that boy is, her brother, that boy I keep seeing her with. I don't know who that is to the mother, if that's the other kid or something. But he needs to get the fuck out of here. You better run, brother. SYSBM, you save yourself, black man. Go your own way. This is not misogyny talking. This is my humanity. This is my humanity talking and shit. They're not safe. She can't raise you. She wasn't raising her kids. She was doing her own thing while her daughter was out here on the streets, fucking around and shit. Cavorting with criminals and shit. Selling her body. Okay? She was a partner with her pimp. She was a partner with her goddamn trafficker, a supposed trafficker and shit. And he didn't get enough years. Okay? He didn't get enough years. And I hope they turn him into a prison bitch in there. All right? And this other nigga too. All right? A lot of fucked up shit like this goes down in the hood over here in, the Shy. A lot of fucked up shit like this going on right under people's nose because people don't care about their fucking kids. They don't give a shit. That's why this shit happens like this. You don't know where your kid's at? You mean she'll tell me she can't, look at her phone bill? She probably gave her daughter the phone that she has. She can look at her phone bill, see what's going on. She can read her text. She can request a text. She can read her text. She can see who she's talking to. And question, hey, what's this number here? I keep seeing this number. You're not going anywhere. You're on lockdown. You're not going anywhere. Drop over there at that grandfather's house. Say, hey, don't let her out. If she try to get out, you give her the two-hitter quitter and shit. Keep her ass in here while I take this shit to the police station. Or take her to the police station. Take your daughter to the doctor. Get her a physical and shit. Ask her if she's still a virgin. Is her hymen still intact? They used to do that shit in the 50s. A lot of, white motherfuckers, they used to be like policing their daughters, like, the mothers and shit. They be taking their daughters, they go on a date and they think something going on, they take their daughters and get them physical and shit. They find out if their hymen intact. We don't do that here. You just let your kids run out free in the street. That's how you get all this criminal-minded bullshit, this trap house shit and all this other, these demonic imps, this shit look like Glorilla and all this crap. That shit comes from that, okay? It comes from shitty neglect. Bad parent. I can't even call it parenting and shit. You shit it out you shit it out a human being, and then you just left it there. You didn't do shit. You didn't nurture it. You didn't teach it anything. What did this girl learn that she was out on the streets and she didn't feel like she could go to her parents, her grandparent, or mother, and tell them like, hey, there's guys out here chasing me. They want to traffic me. Can you help me? No, she didn't do that. She was she was out there doing business. She was a prostitute. Okay? I don't want to hear shit about she was a nice girl and all this bullshit. Okay? Anybody can smile. I can smile at your ass. It don't say nothing about my character. I'm not shitting on this girl's a victim of murder, got murdered and, abused and God knows what else happened to her and shit. I'm not shitting on her, but I'm just saying, let's stop lying. All right? She knew what she was doing and shit. All right? She could have went and told her parents. She could have told somebody at school, a school counselor or something. They have to do something if you tell them. She could have called the cops herself. But she don't want to do that shit. Okay? And she had no parents. She don't feel safe. So they ate her up. Okay? She got ate up and shit. And then she got killed by a guy that, her pimp thought was safe probably because he wasn't black. All right? Probably because he wasn't black. Took out to the suburbs of Chicago, Markham, Illinois, to have sex with a middle-aged Hispanic man. And then took him back out the next day. He thought it was, hey, well, he likes her, I'll take him back again. The guy doesn't have no money. He want a freebie. Probably going through a midlife crisis and shit. And he got some weird shit in his head. Yeah, this is, this predates Mercedes Moore's death. Okay, it predates her death. All right? And it has the same, the same effect as far as I'm concerned, the shit. And if you look at the killers, they look eerily alike and shit, okay?
bitch is sugar free, a crash dummy. I ain't the smartest motherfucker in the world, but you just another bitch that need gas money. And this is some news you can use. Bitch, a million motherfuckers wanna be in my shoes. Bitch, I'm a legend in these streets, the better kind. How many of y'all niggas know where y'all bitch at right now? Never mind. Believe everything that bitch tell you, huh? Don't lie to splurge. Boyfriend, pimpin', nigga, shit, what is it? Mine or hers? Mobe then. Your average nigga break his neck to go to your house. Have I ever been there? Okay then. What I'ma give a bitch a pass for? Spent all that time in school and got a job that ain't got nothing to do with you with your class for. Here goes some real sugar-free tough in there. If the bitch got a gang of play cousins and play brothers, they fucking her. Sugar-free to pee. Look like the game hurt. If the bitch got 2 or 3 phones, she either a hoe or a brain surgeon. How to write the book, motherfucker. I just read what was in the motherfucker.